One of the things that's kind of interesting is we're just playing at a very basic level here. There's tons of ways that you can tweak this out, but we're just trying to kind of show you generally some of these tools and how they work. One of the cool things is if you try to do something inside of Adilas and it's looking for something, it will prompt you. So right here up in my quick search, I have quote and blank, and if I hit go, what do you expect will happen?
It'll probably ask you to give it.
Yeah, it's going to say, hey, please check the main search field. It requires at least one character, okay? So it's like, oh, okay, cool. It probably means this. And I was just looking for, let's go see what 24 was just for fun. Boom. Now Fred Flintstone bought something. We sold him 20 at $50 for labor for $1,000. Looks like we actually tied it to an element of time. Like this is just a quote. But basically, I can see that there's a time ID, number 42. We're creating all sorts of relationships. This particular one was tied to Fred, which is a customer, and to a piece of time, and to, et cetera, et cetera. Like, basically, what you do is you document the pieces. Adilas, what it literally is, I'm going to switch to a little thing here. You've got to think of Adilas almost like this. Imagine you have tons and tons of little storage containers. As things happen, you take a can of Pringles, and you basically go like this. I'm going to shove some data in here, I'm going to shove some data in here, I'm going to shove some data in here. Then when you want it, what you do is Adilas basically says, oh, cool, I know exactly where that's stored. I'll put it back together for you. I've got this element of time, this customer, this quote, and he's got these pieces. Here we go. And we put it all back together for you. Adilas literally is no more than just this type of a thing. We are a virtual data container that actually holds and stores your pieces, and then you pull them back. We have a little tagline, and we use it right on our main website where actually this is what we say. Your data, you cache and retrieve it, we secure it. Okay? Literally, it's virtually a data portal. What do you do for your business? How do you do it? And then that's what we do, and that's how we run with that type of stuff. So if anybody is there and they're listening, what we're doing right now is if you would like, we wanted to see if you had any questions on inventory or how certain things are happening, or possibly some of the ways to use the cart. You could go as deep as you wanted to go. We're just trying to open it up to see if anybody remotely has any questions or concerns.
Yeah, John is asking, when entering purchase orders, can we have a default setup where we always have the product in our possession and the type is always the same?
Okay, absolutely, absolutely. And what you do is, here's where this is. And which John is this?
John Cannon.
Okay, great. John, how are you doing, sir? What we're doing is basically this is a brand new feature that just came out, John, and we're trying to educate more and more people on this. I'm not sure which version you use. You actually probably are on the retail version or something like that. I'm not sure, but just for example, basically what we're going to end up doing is
it's on the retail version.
Say you're on the retail version of kind of what's going on, and what this is this is just your interface option. What you're going to do is you're going to click on this little thing that says change location, okay, for you. If you click on it, what it does is it takes you to a page that has my personal settings and defaults. And one of the new ones that you can do right here is your PO type. You can specifically set it so that as soon as you come in, it's automatically going to remember that. You have to realize as soon as you start using the system, because you're using it, if you change that PO type, it's like, oh, looks like he switched to this. I'll follow on that mode. But as soon as you come in, this is how you set up your defaults, so where you first land. So hopefully that will kind of, and the other question he said was actually on the main, on the edit main. So this is how you actually create.
Can you slow down just a bit, I'm wondering?
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I sometimes get carried away. And if you need me to slow down, please ask. That's great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go back and we're going to redo this little piece again so that you can follow along. So from your home page, depending on what your home page is, you may or may not have options of your chooser. If you're on a different place, the classic, the my favorites, the interactive map, or if we've loaded a special one into you, you'll be at some point. And there's always a way. If you ever get lost and you can't do it, the classic homepage has every option in the world, okay? It just looks a little bit more complicated because it has every option in the world showing, okay? Basically what you need to do is you need to get to My Personal Settings and Defaults. To do your PO type, your default PO type, What you need to do is just actually set and change this to whatever you wanted it to be, okay? Once you select that and you save the changes, it will physically record that in your thing so that every time you do it, it automatically remembers. You're basically saying, I want to save that to the database. That's one question that John had, okay? That's how you would save it. Real quick, I'm going to get to the same page through the classic homepage in case somebody is not using the retail homepage, okay? So I'm going to basically go like this, chooser, classic. In order to get to it, basically what you're doing is you go to password and profile. You're going to your personal settings. If you click here and you go to my settings and defaults, you'll be right to that page, okay? There are tons of ways around Adilas, and earlier this morning we were talking about world building and like how all of these characters have relationships and then problems and then decisions and cause and effect type things. The world of Adilas, it's awesome, it's huge, and it's very customizable. And where we're headed, it's even more customizable so that you can actually get into exactly what you want to do. So it's kind of cool. Did you have a question?
If I were using the map, then would I go into my
Okay,
settings?
correct. So that's how I did it from the classic there, okay?
Okay.
Let's go to the map. So I'll go chooser. Just so you know, you can go chooser either way, okay? Every single page. As long as you have a valid header or footer on it, it should have a chooser. If I was using the map, basically in order to get to that same exact spot for my settings, I would go My Stuff, My Settings and Defaults. Okay? And then basically once that page pulls up, you would actually be on that particular thing. Looks like my internet is going slow right now.
We've got 2 requests.
Okay,
Can
perfect.
you go back over in recipes and builds where you built the hamburger and where you were hiding things and showing
Okay,
various things?
sure.
Someone wanted to go back over that. And then next, if you could touch on my cart favorites.
Awesome. I sure can. So my internet connection was kind of a little slow at that particular point. I'm going to redo that one again, okay? So basically, we were at the interactive map, and we wanted to know how to get to personal settings, and I will jump to those other pieces. I went My Stuff, and then on Settings and Defaults, and that's how I get to that same particular page, okay? Multiple ways around the puzzle, okay? You literally, like if I give analogies, and I love analogies, you basically come to a pool, and you can decide if you're going to tan, swim, dive, play with the kids, like you come to your own world and you get to play in this virtual world, and then that's kind of what you get to do, okay? So let's take one of those options there. What was the first question?
John also recommended that they need a warning if they're about to create an unpaid invoice.
Okay.
But the next request that came in was...
That's great. And John, just so you know, if you guys have ideas, we save these chat logs, okay? So if you're chiming in and you're like, dude, you really need to fix this, and guess what? We save it, okay? We do save it, so we can hook you up that way. Okay, what was the next question?
The next request that came in was from Ray to go back over some of the recipe builds where you were creating the hamburger.
Okay.
And the hiding features and some of the...
Okay, perfect. That's great. We've kind of been on a candy subject, and if you're okay, what we'll do is we'll actually go to recipes and builds, and we will actually play right from there. So first off, before we go into recipe and builds, there might be some people that don't really know what's going on. I'm going to grab my marker again real quick. We are dealing with recipes and builds. As you can see, it's very close to your general inventory. It's close to line items. It's close to quotes. It's close to invoices. This is also, if you're doing build and hold, it's close to POs. Okay, it has to traverse the inventory pools. But recipe and builds is basically programming Adilas to say, hey, I want to do stuff in bulk. And so if you do standard retail, you may not have a whole lot of recipes unless you do, like, say, a gift basket. So John, who happens to be on here, he works at Highlands Vineyard, which is a liquor store. So he might end up doing like a gift basket, like, hey, I'm going to have a basket, and I'm going to have this, and I'm going to have this, and I'm going to have this, and then I'll let you pick and choose between 3 options of your choice. So technically, he could build a recipe for that type of a deal, and then he could actually kind of say, oh, it looks like you want the basket. He says, get the basket. He does the things that says, oh, looks like you get to choose between X, Y, and Z. And then he just gets to choose those things and say submit, and it would create that just in time, okay? We're going to do candy, okay? So basically recipes kind of deal in this type of deal, but recipes can be used for all sorts of cool stuff. I'm going to just hide some of these drawings really quick, and we're going to actually deal. So recipes and builds, if you're actually dealing with this kind of stuff, I'm going to highly recommend again that you check the help file out for this page. It will kind of orient you. It's a very easy read. You're talking maybe 6 paragraphs, but it'll kind of help you know what's going on, okay? We're going to actually create a new recipe. Before we create this new recipe, let's get a plan, because if we just start creating, it's going to be random, okay? So I have at least 3 pieces of candy in there. I have hot tamales, Snickers, and this. Say I'm doing a basket. Why don't we do a little candy basket? We'll just keep it super simple, okay? I don't have the basket piece in there. Actually, I might, because I actually did another one right here. It's called gift basket. So I might actually have a basket in here. We'll see if we have it. And if not, we'll take a quick little sidestep, and I'll show you how you sidestep it and get those pieces in. We are going to be creating a build and sell recipe. So basically, we're programming Adilas at this point. We're going to click on Create New Recipe. And we're going to call it Candy Basket. And now, once again, you have to realize there's tons and tons of different options. Every page has a help file, so if you need help, jump in there. We're going to do Build and Sell, which is an invoice group, so just in time. This is going to yield 1 basket. And this yield, all it does is it's for your quick reference. It's actually not a real numeric value that's like, oh wow, cool, I have a certain quantity. It's just a reference. 1 bottle, 1 bag, 1 Google, 1 whatever, okay? You can add a barcode if in case you're using major barcode person. And I'm just going to say candy gift basket. Okay, so we're going to add this recipe. Now, the first thing that it did is basically it dropped me to this Add Edit Recipe line items page. Because we added a new one, it's like, okay, I'm assuming you're going to add a thing called an ingredient. So if you think of the recipe, you have a recipe, and then what does the recipe have? It has ingredients. These are actually how you're starting to program Adilas. So the first thing we want is actually probably the basket. And let's just see if I have it. I don't even know if I do. If I don't, we'll go create it. BAS. Okay, let's see what we have. So I'm looking right here under the product ID. I do not have this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I actually have to take a quick little sidestep. I have to actually get these baskets if I wanted all of these different little pieces. Watch this. What we're going to do really quick is this is quickly how I'm going to sidestep it, okay? I'm going to say vendor. I'm going to put this under ourselves as the vendor. It could be under whatever vendor we need it to. I'm going to come here. I'm going to say create a PO. Basically what happens is, really quick, I'm going to just kind of jump into another spot just so I can show you for just a quick second. What's happening is I said, hey, I need to create a PO to get a placeholder in here, okay? It's very important that I know that I need to do that. I had to connect to a vendor. I'm going to quickly create the placeholder, and then I'm going to jump back to the recipe and finish up, okay? So that's basically what we're doing in a nutshell. So right here, I'm in my PO. I'm going to say basic live, do it. I need a basket. I'm going to come down. This is the other piece that John was asking for a setting. Can I always get this to be yes, it's in my possession? And that's a great idea. That's he had a 2-part question. That's actually what he was talking about, and we skipped that. But basically, John, I do know about it, and we'll see what we can do for you, okay? So basically, we're going to click Add the PO, and now I'm going to just type in wicker basket or something like that. I don't even know, how do you spell wicker? W-I-K or W-I-C-K? Wicker, B-A-S-K-E-T. Okay, wicker basket. Search it. Do I have this? Oh, I don't have it. No problem. Let's go get it. Boom. If I knew of a certain quantity that I actually had, I could enter it right here. Okay, let's say that I have 5 of these right now. Wicker baskets, normal. I want to track it. I'm going to call this a basic item right now. I could call it whatever I needed to. Basic basket. I'm going to come down. If I knew a cost, I would technically enter that cost. Say my cost was pretty cheap, just $1 a piece, and I'm actually going to tell it, and I'm going to sell it for $2.50 as part of my gift basket. I want this to automatically create the sale price. It creates my margin. It says, hey, you're doing fine. You're still making 60%. I come down. If I wanted to, I can even have a barcode. basket is my barcode, add the product. Boom. At this point, what I've done is I've created the PO, I tied it to a vendor, I currently have a problem, okay? It's saying, hey, this should be $5 because I have 5 at 1, okay? So I'm going to really quick fix it, edit main, and once again, this is kind of faking it. I don't have anything in front of me, and ideally you would have this information in front of you, you would know how much your baskets were, but this is kind of how you get your baskets in. I now have a product in called Wicker Basket with a quantity of 5, okay? And it actually has a price of $2.50 and a cost of $1. So what I can do now is I'm actually going to go back to my recipe and build homepage. If I wanted to, I could even come here. I hope you're okay. I'm kind of using this as if I was a power user, and this is like, I'm playing in this world. Literally, if you're thinking worlds, we were playing in the PO and parts world, and now I'm totally jumping over to a recipe and build world, okay? I use the quick search to jump anywhere quickly. I'm going to jump here and show you how quick you can do it, and then if you would rather see a traditional method, I could show you that as well, but I'm going to go like that. I know that that happens to be a keyword that I could say, what was the last recipe that I built? Go. And it basically will say, hey, the recipe has not passed the validation. It was trying to build me to the build mode. Okay, no problem. It kind of jumped me back here because I didn't have any line items in it. So I'm going to go like this. There's more than one way to go around this thing. I'll just type in home, take me to the recipe build homepage, candy basket, edit. So basically, you can see right here, the reason it didn't allow me to do the last thing is I didn't have enough ingredients in it. Okay, it's kind of like, whoa, 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 I'm not ready to play yet. So I'm just going to click on edit right here, and I'll be right back into my candy basket. I currently just have it set up. I have 0 items in it. We're going to go ahead and add one. Add an ingredient. Okay, and now I'm just going to type in basket. Wow, what do you know? Awesome. We're going to assign it to the recipe. Click. Now, do we want this showing yes or no on the basket? Quantity 1, okay. The cost, I'm going to say, hey, just use the current cost. The price, I can actually adjust prices right here inside of this recipe. Do I want to use the current price? Do I want to use a 0? Do I want to? If you're doing hidden, you need to make the price 0, because what happens is you can't have something that has a price and hide it, because if you look at it, you have to be able to be like this plus this plus this equals this some amount. But I can totally make it carry cost. But if I decide to hide it, I cannot have a price on that, if that makes sense, okay?
So in essence, maybe here you could just do a standard price for your gift basket.
Correct.
And then you could just hide all your candies inside of it and let them choose whatever candy they want.
Okay, correct. You could totally do that. And what you do is, once again, you would actually have a reason to create this. What I'm going to show you is how you actually hide and show some of this type of stuff. We're going to create a standard basket, and I'm physically going to show on the screen, hey, here's my basket, and then what did I load into it? Okay, and then I'm going to actually preload some options. That's what I'm going to do, but you can technically take this to whatever level. So Shannon basically said, oh, I could see it. I could just charge $10 for my basket, and that's my general end-all thing, and then I could load in whatever I wanted into that and then virtually do it. You can totally do it that way, okay? We're going to kind of do it simply, and then you can tweak it out from where I take it, okay? So basically, we're going to come down here and say quantity 1, use current price. I'm going to currently just keep my price, but you could totally, Shannon, your option is right here, okay? Custom, $10.59 or whatever you're doing for your custom basket, and then you can, you're pulling in cost behind that, okay? I'm going to say, I'm going to leave this open, and you can open it or close it. So just so you know, the person who is setting up the recipe has major control. This is called an admin permission under recipes. If you have basic permissions, you're able to use, but you can't tweak. So the person who's setting it up is determining how flexible they want this recipe to be used. Does that make sense, how you have 2 different permissions? Okay, so I'm going to say leave it open, so in case I do want to change that price on the fly. The line description, I'm going to actually say, instead of basic basket, I'm going to actually call it, what's a good name for our particular basket?
Candy basket.
Candy basket.
Easter
Yeah,
basket.
EAS, Easter candy basket. Okay, perfect. So basically I said, hey, I'm going to use a custom description. which doesn't hurt the part number itself at all, okay? The default tax category, I'm going to go ahead and say it's taxable right now, okay? I can add anything else that I want. Here's where you hide show something, but because I have a price right here, basically it will squawk at me if I try to do hidden and do it. So I'm going to say show right now, okay? And we're going to say add the line item. Click. So I now have one piece in my recipe. So the other pieces, we're going to hammer them in a little quicker. We don't have to take side trips because basically they're already in there, okay? And I'm just going to set it up really quick. So I'm going to kind of start flying here a little bit. Add the ingredient. What is it? Let's do M&Ms first. M&M, perfect. Assign it to the recipe. I'm going to come down and I'm going to say, you know what? By default, I'm going to put 0. I have no clue. We're going to keep it at the same price. I am going to make this flexible as well, and M&Ms is great. That'll work. We'll make that taxable, and I'll just say add it. So this one comes in as a 0 quantity, so I can modify this on the fly, but it's already going to be built into my basket, okay? The next one, I also know that we have Snickers. Snickers, awesome. Assign it. We're going to go 0. We're going to come down. We're going to say, hey, let's leave it flexible. I'm going to leave the default thing. I'm going to turn it to taxable. And I'm going to come down, add the item. We also have hot tamales. We're going to add that as an option. And here's my hot. And we're going to basically say assign that to the recipe. And you can see how that particular one actually brought back a number of other pieces because it basically did a search and it was able to find that particular hot underscore in these other pieces. And so if we wanted to, we could technically go to them and see if it was in either their description, barcode, reference field. These searches are pretty flexible when you do the searches. Okay, we're going to add this to the recipe, and we're going to also keep this one at 0 as well. The reason I'm doing 0 right now is so that I will be able to basically come back later and say, yeah, I might want to change that price. Say it's a buddy or something. If it's not, and you're doing this for your other retail people, lock it down. So like say, for instance, I was an admin, and I knew that I had Johnny, and he's going to be working the counter, and I don't want him playing with price. Price is actually a variable. It's awesome. It's part of business. Cost is fixed. You can't really variable cost in a way, okay? But price, you can variable it. Am I going to give a discount? Am I going to give a promotion? Am I going to do this? That is variable. That's how you work a deal, okay? But if you have Johnny and you're like, Johnny, you can't touch this. You lock it down, okay? And basically, just for fun, why don't we actually lock this one down so that you can see the difference as far as what's going to end up happening. So on the price field, I locked it down, okay? We're going to come down, we set taxable, add the line item.
That is just locking down the price. It isn't locking down quantity.
Oh, you want quantity to be able to range, okay, depending on what's going on, okay? So basically, all you're doing for a recipe is you're pre-programming Adilas. So at this point, we have one called Candy Basket. It has a wicker basket and M&Ms, Snickers, and hot tamales, and you can see how you can kind of tweak this out to whatever level. I currently have 1 and then $000, but it'll end up modifying this price depending on how many I end up adding of those different pieces, okay? But say this is my standard Easter basket. And once again, we're kind of just faking this. This is a training class, but in theory. So at this point, I'm totally done with my recipe, okay? And so what I can do is I'm now, in general, I'm here at home. If I go here to the recipe homepage and I see Candy Basket, you'll notice that it now has an active status instead of pending because I have at least 1 ingredient in there, okay? There's a thing that's called the build prep. This is how you get to this particular piece, okay? So the recipe build prep is basically how you kind of come in here and you say, oh, look it, here's all my pieces. Now look at this. This was locked down. I cannot change that price, but I told this to be flexible, flexible, and flexible, okay? So that's the difference between that particular setting. Also, say somebody comes in and they have 5 kids and they want to be like, hey, I want to do 5 of these baskets. You could literally go like this and say 5, submit. Okay, it's just a local submit. Nothing really happened. The only one that I actually had a real value one was on this one, but it'll increment it, okay? If I wanted to do 250 baskets for a charity donation and I hit submit, anything that really physically had a value, and I hit submit, it will automatically calculate those numbers into there, okay? These little buttons, if you're more of a button person, you can make things go up or down wherever you want to make it, okay? If you're a mouse person, you could go like this. Hey, we're just doing one. Like, okay, it's very quick however you want to interact. If you want to change something, you can change it. There's different pieces depending on which pieces you're allowing it, but what you're building is you're building this preset list of what's going to go in here.